Armory Disc Golfers, welcome back to another video. The future of Discmania is here. Kind of. New Tour Series disc opportunities abound, and puzzle pieces are finally falling into place. We've got hot off the press off-season news to cover, so let's get into it.
Gannon is finally officially on Team Discmania, who announced this morning that they were signing him to a 3-year deal.
This wasn't a shock, but there are a few surprising and interesting things about this announcement. But first, we're all glad this is over. The trolling on all these different fan pages was funny, but I think we can all agree that it had run its course, and I'm sure I'm not alone in the sentiment that I'm excited to move on to more normal disc golf talk, like what Gannon's new disc might be with Discmania. Also, not that Discmania has said this or attempted to market it, but I want to get to it before anyone else tries to let this catch on. Gannon is not a new Crush Boy. Honestly, I think it was a force to put Kyle in the mix as a Crush Boy with Eagle and Simon in the first place, but I understand why Discmania did it, and I definitely don't put any blame on Kyle for any of that. But the Eagle and Simon era at Discmania is over. Rather than trying to hold on to straws of the past, Discmania should let that go and let their new squad be something new and unique. Trying to hold on to the Crush Boys thing would just keep their current stars in the shadows of what Simon and Eagle built and did and who they were. Let that go, start new branding. Besides, landing a superstar like Gannon is a great time for that anyway. Speaking of new branding, going along with this 3-year deal with Discmania, we're certainly going to be seeing Gannon's first collab creator series disc sometime soon, something that was sorely missing during his tenure at Prodigy. We've got a few hints as to what this might be, but before we dive into that, some surprises about this announcement. The first one that I noticed was Discmania only locked him up for 3 years, and maybe that's a poor choice of words considering his last contract situation. But if you've got a top 5 player in the sport signing on to your team at the age of 19, I would think that they would have been swinging for 5+ years. I don't know how long of a contract Discmania wanted to sign him for, but only seeing 3 was surprising to me. Another kind of surprising thing is that they didn't announce the value of the contract. Macbeth, Wysocki, and Lizotte all have mostly public contracts that are all worth over $1 million a year. So the fact that the amount wasn't hyped in this release makes me think that whatever Gannon got is south of that. That's understandable because Gannon hasn't proved to move discs the same way these other 3 guys do, but it's also interesting, going along with the point about the short-term contract, because Gannon is an actual phenom who's only going to get better and keep winning events for years to come. Disc golf money is definitely down right now, but the term and total, or lack thereof, for this contract definitely draws intrigue. There's also no word on Alden yet. It makes sense to spotlight Gannon because he's a generational talent and he'll be the face of the brand moving forward. Sorry, Kyle. But I personally thought that this was going to be some group announcement about Discmania's collective future. And again, if Discmania is pushing their chips in on Gannon as the future of the brand, it's strange that they only signed their future to a 3-year deal. More on Alden in a bit. We've got news and speculation on discs to get into. To start, Gannon doesn't throw many discs, so his first Creator Series disc will probably be a high-speed overstable driver or an overstable approach disc. There is a distance driver featured in the announcement video, and I've got a few reasons to believe that that is a PD2. Gannon was pumping the dome of that sucker, which lines up with what we've seen from the newly released Skystone PD2s, and more importantly, that rim profile looks much meaner than a DD3 and much more in line with what we've seen from the new PD2s. I wanted to get the people going with news or speculation about a Creator Series PD2, but I just don't think it makes sense for a number of reasons. Discmania just released Special Edition Swirly S-Line PD2s as the Skystone in their recent mystery boxes. Having another Special Edition variant of the same disc so close together doesn't make a ton of sense. Also, the PD2 is a very overstable distance driver. I expect Gannon to bag one, sure, but I don't expect most of the community to, because most of us have no business throwing something that fast and that overstable. Just from a purely sales standpoint, it would be better to go with a disc that's more usable, like some sort of A2 variant. His team announcement photo shoot also featured this disc, which looks to be a P3X. I don't think Discmania is going to announce 2 Creator Series discs or even Signature Series discs at once, so their presence in this video doesn't necessarily say to me that that's what's coming down the line for Gannon featured discs. I think they're just new products that make sense to push. And that doesn't mean that there's nothing interesting about them because, like I said, I think these are new products. The PD2s in the mystery boxes are swirly S-line, but Gannon's looks to be a regular S-line. Perhaps this is foreshadowing of a stock release of them soon, which would make sense. And similarly, this other disc looks to be a new one in the Discmania lineup. It's not a P1, P2, or Link, which is significant significant for reasons we'll get to soon. And thanks to our CSI zoom skills, I think it's safe to say that this is a P3X. It's got a small bead, an aggressive wing, and a lower shoulder than a tactic, so I think that makes the most sense. The P3X is another mystery box release that we should expect to see as a part of their stock offering soon, and this one looks like it'll be available in some sort of D-line blend, which will be a welcome addition in addition to the premium offering in the mystery boxes. But I think both of these discs were just placeholders, and given the recent attention the company has given to the PD2, the P3X, and variants of swirly DD3s, I'd wager that we'll see an overstable approach disc first as a way to spread out customer intrigue. The Link is a significant disc because it appears as though that's the putter that Gannon will be starting out with, alongside the MD1 and FD1 as his first Discmania stamped discs. Honestly, don't like the way these look, and it kind of seems just slapped together by Discmania. It's not like Discmania hasn't had time to put a little more thought and design into this initial Gannon drop. Not loving this. What I am loving is the idea of you subscribing below so you don't miss future news. Straddle putt that subscribe button, and let's get into other big news stories in disc golf. Now that Gannon has signed with Discmania, the rest of the puzzle pieces of the 2024 offseason will probably fall into place pretty quickly. Speaking of puzzle pieces, MVP has taken that pretty literally with their slow roll announcement of something, but I'm pretty confident I know what it is. But first, a quick word on the remaining free agents. I still expect Alden to sign with Discmania, and with that, do you think Discmania is going to try to rebrand with a group name similar to Crush Boys, this time featuring Gannon, Alden, and Gavin? I don't know what they'd be called. Something like Goon Squad seems pretty fitting for them, but I'm also fine if they don't try to force another boy band moniker. Also, I'm getting the feeling that Kyle's kind of being left off to the side on this one as well. Dude, just keep competing for and winning majors. A nickname will come. Speaking of nicknames, we're still looking for news of where the Nordic Phenom will end up. The announcement of Gannon as Discmania's big offseason move finally puts to rest the rumors of Niklas's new page being a promotion within Discmania to the Sky team and rebranding as being the face of the company. I don't hate hot takes, but I don't think this one was the community's best effort. I think the two frontrunners for Niklas at this point are Prodigy and Clash. Both have a strong, or at least stronger, presence in Europe, and neither have announced their team for the 2024 season. A quick case for both, and then we're jumping into MVP talk again, which I know is what many of you want to hear. Prodigy has just lost Gannon and Alden, and they should be looking to fill that hole left behind. They have a strong history of presence in Europe with guys like Seppo and Vainu alongside their work with course design stuff. I think it makes sense for them on multiple fronts. Niklas said that his big announcement would be coming in a few weeks when he left Discmania, and that lines up with Clash recently stating that their biggest announcement for 2024 would be made on Monday the 15th. If they're going to announce their biggest news of the entirety of 2024 within the first 3 weeks of the year, I think it's safe to say that it'll be something more significant than a disc release. This is now the official Nick pick for where Niklas will end up. Once he signs, I think Eagle will follow shortly thereafter, but there's some weird timing stuff with that. Axiom released their first disc, the Envy, 10 years ago on January 12th. We have yet to get word on a commemorative release for this, unless of course that's what's going on with the pieces falling into place over on MVP's Instagram page. There's speculation that this could pertain to Eagle signing, but I think that it's more likely to do with Axiom's 10-year anniversary. Companies typically like to make a big deal about those sorts of things because they're cool and because they sell well. If you line up what we've seen from these pictures thus far with the stock release of the time-lapse, it's easy to see a lot of similarities there. So once again, I'm saying that I'm leaning towards this being the Pixel release rather than a 10-year Envy, Eagle McMahon announcement, or Axiom's entry into the housing market. I think that after we see the next run of pictures today, which may be posted by the time this video goes up, we'll almost certainly know what's going on here and what the next hot disc release from MVP will be. Whenever we do get a hot disc release from MVP, you can bet you can snag yours at Armory Disc Golf. We've constantly got more hitting the shelves from all the top brands, including an MVP restock that's most likely hitting today or tomorrow. Get 10% off at the link below, and thanks as always for your support. This new release, assuming that it's not Eagles, does push back his announcement with them, assuming that it still will be with Team MVP. I think from a marketing perspective, it would make more sense to keep hype rolling along by spreading out the announcement of the Pixel or 10-year Envy, whichever it is, and Eagles' announcement of joining the team. Announcing those on back-to-back days or within a day or two of one another seems like a lot all at once. So I'm going to venture to guess that this means we'll have to wait another week or so for Eagles' official move. This is all because I'm assuming Eagle will sign with MVP, but the idea of him going to Infinite Discs is pretty spicy as well, and I'm honestly surprised it hasn't gained more traction. This would be a new venture to a sort of upstart-ish company. Infinite is obviously massive as a retailer, but if they sign Eagle, that really pushes them forward as a manufacturer as well. They just signed Bedanza to the squad, and they look to be pushing into that direction, so this would be cool. Eagle would get to throw the old Innova-made Discmania molds that are now under Infinite's umbrella, which many people in the community seem to still think is superior to Discmania's new Originals line. That's always been interesting to me because while I also really enjoyed the old Discmania stuff, I've also really liked their new stuff since switching over. Let me know if you have opinions on that, because I think the plastic feels great, especially C-line, and I'm particularly fond of the MD5 and anything made in the swirly S-line plastic. I've gone a full video without mentioning Discraft at all, so I'm going to throw it out there again that it seems like every single offseason they're adding more talent to the roster. Chris Clemens and his lady Hannah Wynn have already been added this offseason, but Gossage has still yet to make an announcement, and Discraft could theoretically get Eagle. I don't see it because there are a limited number of Tour Series disc slots to go around, and Eagle would command multiple of them. But never say never, I suppose. And I guess in that same vein, Eagle might sign with Prodigy. Nah, that's not happening. The offseason continues to be fun. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to push some buttons down below. Let me know what you think of all this, and I'm excited to see you in the next one.